The road to Lake Mears wasn't just remote. It was the kind of place where your cell service gave up 30 miles before the nearest gas station. The pines rose on either side like cathedral walls, blocking the last of the sun. Chris had the music low, a classic rock playlist he swore was mandatory for any road trip. Tyler sat in the passenger seat, one boot up on the dash, grinning at the endless green. "You smell that? That's freedom," Tyler said. Chris smirked. "That's your protein shake rotting in the back." From the back seat, Jules groaned. "That thing's been in there since last month?" Maya, sitting between Jules and the cooler, laughed. "We're about to spend 4 days without showers, and this is what grosses you out?" "It's the principle," Jules muttered. Chris glanced in the rearview mirror. "You know, you guys act like you hate each other. But if I disappeared tomorrow, you'd be the first two fighting over who gets to keep camping together." Tyler smirked. "Not true. I'd leave him behind for the coyotes." The mood stayed light, but outside, the forest grew thicker, the road narrower. By the time they saw the faded sign for Lake Mears Recreation Area, the sky had turned the color of ash. Their campsite was tucked between the rocky shore and a wall of trees that looked like they hadn't moved in centuries. The lake was glass still, reflecting the dark pines and the faintest blush of evening. Chris handled the tents. Maya unloaded the gear with her usual efficiency, stacking sleeping bags and folding chairs. Jules set up the fishing rods with the seriousness of a surgeon. Tyler crouched near the pit, coaxing a fire to life. "See? Boy Scout material." You lasted 2 meetings before quitting," Maya reminded him. "Yeah, but I made a killer pinecone catapult." When the fire caught, the air filled with the smell of wood smoke and sizzling bratwursts. They ate by firelight, the flames throwing gold across their faces. Beer loosened their voices, and they traded old college stories until the moon rose high. Somewhere deep in the forest, a branch cracked. Loud, heavy, Chris froze mid-laugh. "Deer," he said quickly, but his eyes flicked toward the dark. The sound came again, slower this time. A shuffle, then a low, deliberate huff of breath. "Okay, not a deer," Maya whispered. Jules grabbed his flashlight and swept it toward the tree line. The beam caught nothing but mist curling between the trunks. "You guys remember that old ranger story about Lake Mears?" Tyler asked. "The one about—" Maya shot him a look. "Don't." But he grinned, ignoring her. "Couple campers vanish every decade. No blood, no tracks. Just gone." Before anyone could respond, a deep roar tore through the night. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't anything they knew. It rattled their ribs, a sound that felt more like it was inside their bones than their ears. They didn't talk much about the sound the next morning. The fog hung low over the lake, turning the water into a sheet of silver. Chris and Jules paddled out in the old aluminum rowboat they'd rented from a shack near the highway. "This lake's creepy," Jules muttered, his oar cutting ripples into the mist. "It's just the fog," Chris said, but he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Halfway across, a splash broke the silence, not from a fish, but something heavier. They both turned in time to see the ripples spreading, but whatever made them was gone. "You see that?" Jules whispered. Chris just kept rowing. By midday, they'd all fanned out along the shore to fish. Maya knelt to untangle her line from a submerged branch when she noticed something half buried in the silt. It was a footprint, huge, twice the size of her own boot. The toes were broad, the impression deep. She stared at it for a long moment before the hair rose on her neck. Later, when she showed the others, Jules swore it was a prank. "Someone's screwing with us. You can buy Bigfoot stamps online." Chris didn't say anything. He just kept scanning the tree line. That night, the sounds came back, heavier, closer. Something moved just beyond the firelight, pacing. Once, they caught the faint glint of amber eyes. The smell hit them next, a musky, wet dog stench with a hint of rot. "It's circling us," Tyler murmured. Chris grabbed the hatchet from the log pile. "If it comes closer..." The thing let out another roar, louder than before. The trees shuddered. Birds burst from the canopy in a chaotic cloud. It didn't wait this time. The branches exploded as it charged. They ran. The forest became a blur of shadow and silver moonlight. The thing's footfalls shook the earth. 4 beat strides, impossibly fast for something that size. Behind them came the sound of branches snapping like toothpicks. Maya stumbled over a root, Jules yanking her back to her feet. Chris swung the hatchet wildly at shadows that darted too fast to track. Something slammed into Tyler from behind. He screamed, and the sound cut off mid-breath. They never saw him again. They broke into a clearing, breath ragged, chests heaving. The forest went silent, except for the ringing in their ears. Then, behind Chris, a slow, deep inhale. He turned, and the flashlight found it. 7, maybe 8 feet tall. Fur, matted and dark. The face, wrong. Too human in the eyes. Too animal in the jaw. Its breath steamed in the cold. Lips curling to reveal thick, yellow teeth. It stepped forward. The ground trembled. Jules lifted a rock in both hands, like it would help. "Stay back." It didn't attack. It just studied them, tilting its head like it was memorizing their faces. Then it turned and melted into the trees without a sound. They didn't sleep. At sunrise, they packed in silence, the fire reduced to gray ash. Chris kept scanning the tree line, certain he'd see it again. And he did, just before they reached the bend in the road, in the rearview mirror. Tall, still, watching. It didn't follow. They never went back to Lake Mears.